Okay, good afternoon everyone. This is the first session of organizational behavior, right? Welcome to my class. I'm your instructor. My name is Hae-Hyung Ho. I'm the professor in organizational behavior and human resource management in Hanyang Business School. Well, because of the outbreak of coronavirus, this moment, we have to have online classes for the first 2 weeks. Well, I don't know whether it's a good thing for you guys or not, but this is what's happening now. So but still, I'm gonna have a class in this format. This is the first session of organizational behavior, and let me introduce my classes. And this is the course information. My name is Hae-Hyung Ho. I just mentioned about it. The class time is it's a one-day class, right? A 3 hours class. It's every Friday. You're gonna have class from 1 to 4, basically, right? So every Friday we have 3-hour classes from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. But actually, there are 2 sessions, like 75 minutes session 1. And the session 2 is another 75 minutes. So from 1 to 2:15, it's a session 1, and 2:30 to 3:45, it's a session 2. So the 3-hour class, the Friday class, but it's a composed of 2 sessions, right? So that's how we get 3 credits by taking this class. So it's a good thing for you guys, right? I mean, you don't need to come to class twice in a week, right? It's only one. You can come to class with 1 time. Office hour is after class or by appointment. So whenever you have questions or any issues, you can talk to me after class, or you can email me and make an appointment with me and talk about the issues. Right, and classroom for this class is room 301, right? Room 301. And this is my email address. So if you have any questions or any issues, feel free to send me email to this email address. Okay? Right, we have a textbook for this class. It's an organizational behavior by Robinson and Judge. So it's not Robinson, Robinson's. Robinson and Judge. The 18th edition. Oops. Excuse me. We have 18th edition here, but if you have 17th edition, 16th edition, 15th edition, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a textbook, then that's okay. Well, I mean, the 18th edition of this textbook is a little bit different from the previous versions. For example, they changed the sequence of the topics, but I think, but pretty much everything is, I mean, the content is the same, but sequence is different. So if you have, for example, 17th edition, for example, the conflict and negotiation for 18th edition is chapter 18, but in the 17th edition, the conflict and negotiation is I think chapter 14, stuff like that. So it's just change of the sequence. So if you have previous versions, you don't need to worry about it, right? So as long as you have a textbook, that's okay. And I'm not trying to sell this book. I don't have any incentives for selling this book, but I strongly encourage you to buy one or just get one because it's good for you to study and prepare for the exams. Okay? Okay? Any questions? No? Okay. Right. Actually, this class is a fluid learning class. Fluid learning class. So what is fluid learning class? So we have online class and offline class. Okay. So it's even better for you guys, right? So first you have to watch online class, and then you come to class, the offline class, and you take a photo lecture from me and do some presentation or discussions, like class activities. You do that basically in that offline class. So I just actually told you that we have two sessions every day. I mean, every class, right? But the first session is actually online class from week 3, basically. I actually originally planned to have like first 2 weeks of offline classes, and then we start to have a fluid learning from week 3, right? But because of this coronavirus outbreak, I have to do this way in the first 2 weeks as well. But basically, from week 3, you will be able to see the online class. I'll show you the example here. So if you go to the portal, our class portal website, and there is a, for example, there's a week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is an online class that I
today we're going to talk about question
recorded before, for example, right? So you can actually watch this online class, and then you come to class, right? So, but the online class is supposed to be the session 1, okay? So, what you guys need to do is just come to class only for session 2. Okay, so it's not even 3-hour class, so only 1.5 hour class for 1 week. But of course, you have online class, but I mean, for Friday, you come to class only for session 2. Okay, that's how I'm gonna run the class from week 3. Okay, but in first and second week, it's I don't know. I mean, it's already a fluid learning class, right? So I guess every session, maybe in this class, in this semester, it's becoming a fluid learning class. But that's how I'm gonna manage this class? Did you understand? Do you have any question? No? Okay. I will explain more later when we look through the class schedule. The requirement for this class. Actually, I usually give many teamworks throughout the session and throughout the semester. Usually, I give 2 or 3 team presentations, like team project, and so that's how I usually run the class. But this time we don't want to see each other often, right? Because of the coronavirus. This semester, I think it's good to be away from each other, right? So I'm not going to give you any team project for this semester. But what I can do is giving you more assignment, individual assignment, and more quiz and probably tests, right? That's how I'm going to do. So this is the course requirement for this class. The attendance is 10%. The attendance is pretty important. It's an offline class, and the attendance for both online and offline class, right? So that's a requirement. So when you watch the online lecture, the system actually will check whether you guys actually attended or watched the online class. So online class attendance is pretty important as well. So you should not miss any online class as well. Anyways, that's our attendance. It's a 10% of the total grade. So if you think it's only 10%, but believe me, it's a very big portion of the total grade. So if you miss like one class, I mean, I'm going to explain more later, but actually 10% of attendance is pretty critical for your final grade. So that's what I'm going to emphasize later on. And okay, that's 10% of attendance, 20% of quiz. So we're going to have quiz 4 times. 4 times quiz. It's a random quiz. Okay? So I'm not gonna announce, when we're gonna have a quiz. I'm not gonna announce that. We're gonna have a random quiz. That's my tool to actually see whether my students are actually following up. There's online classes and stuff like that. So that's a quiz. And we have the term exam and final exam. So that's a total 100%, right? Okay, let me explain the first portion of the class requirement. The attendance, right? It's 10% of the total grade. The full point is 10. Basically, you can get 10 points if you basically come to class every time and take every online classes, right? So that's a full point, which is 10. But if you miss class or you do not watch online class, you get penalty, right? So the penalty policy is like this. So you get -1 point for first, second, and third absence without notification, including online class, right? So if you miss one time or 2 times, right? Then if you miss 2 times, basically, if you miss 2 times without notification throughout the semester, then your final attendance point is 8. Understand? Right? Well, here's the thing. Without notification, right? If you have like emergency, for example, right? If you're very sick, or if you have a coronavirus, right? Then you need to let me know, right? I'm not gonna give you penalty for having coronavirus this time, right? Just kidding, right? But anyways, but if you have like emergency or very sick, then you have to let me know. But at least 1 hour before the class, right? Sometimes, previously some of my students actually send me email like 5 minutes before the class, and I'm very sick, I have to go to hospital. That doesn't work for me. If you really have emergency, if you're really sick, then you have to let me know beforehand. Or if you have some events in like 1 or 2 weeks later, you know that, right? Then you have to let me know beforehand. That makes sense. But like 10 minutes before the class and sending me email, and that doesn't work. That's not professional. Okay? So if you have things, of course you can have things in your life, but you have to let me know. So it's a notification is important. And here's the thing: if you miss class more than 3 times, without notification, then you will not get any attendance point. You will not get any attendance point, which is like 10 point, right? So you have to manage your attendance status. So I think missing more than 3 times, it doesn't make sense, basically, because and another thing is this. Sometimes I think if you miss, like sometimes we're gonna have like full offline class sometimes, right? Let me check my schedule. But this is what I'm gonna emphasize. What I want to emphasize. This is the Friday class is 2 sessions, right? So if you have 2 offline classes on Friday, if you miss whole day, then what? You're missing two classes. You know what I'm saying? So if normally we have 1 online session and 1 offline session. So 1 online is a 1 session. So if you do not watch the online session, you're 1 missing. And second session is offline class. If you don't come to this class, then another 1 missing, right? So that's a 2 missing. So and if we have 2 offline sessions, it's not fluid learning, right? 2 offline sessions, then you miss whole day, then missing 2. That's what I'm trying to say here, okay? But maybe we're not gonna have like a whole offline class this semester. Let me check, but that's, if we have that, and we will have the policy, right? Understood? Alright. And Again, it's attendance policy. And if you're sick and you're saying that, okay, I have to go to hospital, right? It's okay, but you have to provide me the official medical report from the hospital, okay? You have to provide me the official medical report. And if you have some like official events that you cannot miss, then you have to provide the proof, right? Basically, that's my policy. And if you come to class late, it's late attendance. It's also a minus, right? One late attendance is like 1/3. So minus 1/3, right? Of the point, right? So if you come to class late 3 times, then it equals -1, basically. The 3 lateness equals 1 missing class. Got it? Any question? Do you have a question? No? All right. Okay, that's attendance. Now let's talk about quiz. The 20%, like I said before, it's 4 times throughout the semester, no formal assignment. It's 4 times, so 5% for each quiz, right? 5% of the total grade is one quiz. Because it's 4 times, it's 20%. And quiz is basically just a tool for me to check whether you guys are following up the class okay, right? So I'm not going to give you very difficult questions. So the questions are going to be only TNF question, which is a true or false, right? Or multiple choice questions. And I'm not going to give you difficult questions. I'm not going to give you a lot of questions. Probably 10 questions for one quiz, right? But anyway, that's as long as you watch the online class, then you will not have any problems solving this question and quiz questions. So you do not need to worry too much about it. As long as you watch the online class, and as long as you are studying for this class, right? So that's quiz, and it's a random. So I'm not going to announce when we're going to take quiz, right? That's a quiz, 20% of the total grade. Alright, midterm exam and final exam, it's 35% each. And of course, it's a big part of the total grade, so you have to prepare for the exams pretty well. But as long as you have very clear understanding of the concepts and theories that I teach during the class, then I think it's going to be okay. And I will provide review sessions for midterm exam and final exam right before the exam, okay? So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Well, and I'm going to give you the examples of the questions. And usually what I do is giving TNF, multiple choice and short answer questions. And sometimes I give you essay questions as well. But let me see what's gonna happen. But That's midterm and final exam for this class. So that's total 100%. Right, my expectation for students, the professional business behavior, right? And it's business school. Your students in business school, so you need to learn the proper the business manner. In your school years. So you have to keep the class time, you have to be punctual, and you have to manage your attendance, like I said before. You have to inform me when you have to miss the class. I'm not encouraging you to miss the class, but if you have any events or the events that you cannot miss, then you have to let me know. Okay, here's the thing. We have a lot of exchange students in class, right? And I understand the exchange class, students want to have many experiences, as many as possible. I understand that, but for example, Japan trip is not a proper excuse for missing class, right? Your Japan trip or your trip for Jeju Island, it's not a proper reason for missing class. Sometimes some of the students ask me, I have to go to Tokyo for a week. Can I miss the class? And I'm saying, okay, it's not a proper excuse, right? So I understand it's your desire, but I'm not gonna allow you to miss class for that kind of reason. If you want to go to, for example, Japan, then you go for it and you get -1 from the attendance point. That's simple, right? So if you really want to go, then you can go, but you will get -1. It's up to you, right? And no disruption, please. During the offline class, some students I don't know, just talk to each other loudly and playing games, playing online games, and watch YouTube videos. And believe me, I can actually see that if you do that, right? I can see that. And if you do that, then I will be very disrupted, and I cannot really focus on teaching you guys, right? That's a very bad manner for attending class. So please, no disruption. And online class is not a YouTube clip kind of playing. It's nothing like you can play with, right? It's basically a real class. So you have to be very careful. You have to really learn things. You have to focus on it. And here's the thing. Many students open the online class page and do different things. Right? They open the online class, and they also open, for example, Facebook or other I don't know, SNS or other applications, and they do different things, and they just try to I don't know, attend the online class by doing that. But interestingly, our system sometimes actually catch that. So sometimes students come to me then saying that, okay, I took the online class, but the system didn't actually check my attendance. So I don't have any online class attendance point in the portal website. Many cases, the reason why you're having that is because you really did not focus on your online class. Our system sometimes actually check that. So they don't actually check the attendance if you do different things and you only open for the online class, and if you do different things, then they actually catch that, right? So you have to be very careful. And another thing is you have to, after you watch your online class, you check your online attendance. I strongly encourage you, because there could be a kind of error, right, in the system. So if you have some problem with your online attendance, you have to let me know right after that, right? But if you have, if you find out like the problem like 3 or 4 weeks later, and come to me 3 or 4 weeks before I took the online class, but there's no online attendance point for me. That doesn't really work for me, right? Because it's 3 or 4 weeks before we really don't understand what's going on. So you have to check the online attendance point right after you watch the online class. And if there is any problem with it, then you have to let me know right after that. Okay?
Yes.
Got it? All right, any questions? Any questions?
No.
No? Okay. If you guys have any questions, you can actually send me email, or you can ask me after we start to have a real offline class, right? Okay, that's the end of overview. But let me actually show you. Okay, sorry. That's not the end of the overview. All right, I uploaded our syllabus in our portal website, and there's a class schedule. The second page of the syllabus. Okay, today is an overview session, and what is organizational behavior? So I'm gonna go on with what is organizational behavior. It's not offline anymore, but like I said before, the first 2 weeks I plan to have like offline classes, right? But from week 3, we start to have fluid learning, right? So from week 3, we have online class and offline class. Week 4, online, offline, online, offline, online, offline. So that's how we go for this class. And here are chapters related to these topics. We have a midterm exam, final exam, and the final day, we should. So every Friday we have a class, right? And the final Friday class is June 19th. The final Friday class is June 19th. Okay? But we also have June 22nd class. Because since we start late, since we start the semester late because of the coronavirus outbreak, right? We're supposed to have 15 weeks of classes, at least. So that's our law, right? But since we started the semester pretty late, we are having 14 weeks right now, right? So because of that, our school have additional class dates, which is June 22nd and 23. So we're gonna have final session in June 22nd. And actually, I can probably change a little bit of the contents. That's why I write it here with a special topic. But anyways, our final Friday class is June 26th. But we also have, June 19th. It's a final Friday section, but we also have class on 22nd. Alright? And I strongly encourage you to actually read the book chapters before you come to class, right? So that's why I wrote the relevant chapter numbers here. So when you take the online class, probably you can read the related chapter, maybe before the online class or after online class. That's up to you. But and basically you need to read it and compare with your knowledge you got from the online lecture and the books. Got it? Any questions? Okay. You don't have any questions. Alright. This is the end of the overview of the class. And let's go on. What is OB? It's pretty long. Right. What is organizational behavior? What is organizational behavior? I think. It's a very difficult question, right? What is organizational behavior? It's an it's an organization behaving in a certain way. Like, for example, Samsung, Hyundai Motors, that those organizations behave in a certain way. That's an organizational behavior. What is organizational behavior? That's a question that I always actually ask to students in the beginning of the class. And I think this is a very important class as well. I mean, very important question as well. So you're gonna spend whole semester learning about organizational behavior, and at the end of the class, what is organizational behavior? And most students cannot answer it. So that's a pathetic, right? You spent a lot of time and effort in learning something, and at the end of the class, you don't know what you're learning. What is that, right? So you have to learn the definition of what you're going to learn. That's very important because that's how you understand, basically, the contents. That's related to how you understand the contents that you learn from this class. So, what is organizational behavior? You have to be very clear about this. And I'm going to ask you this question again and again throughout the semester. But I think that's a very important question. Working experience. Did you have any working experience? No? Did you have any working experience?
No.
I know you have before. But anyways, so the students here, some students, I know some students have a working experience. Let's assume that you had work experience, okay? What would be the most difficult challenges in the working place? What would be your most difficult challenges? You think, okay? Communication with leader. Oh, okay. So, can you tell me why? A little bit?
Because in my life,
Mm-hmm.
I never meet leader.
You never met leader? Really? Okay. So you don't know how to communicate with them properly. Okay.
I don't know how to deal with leader.
You don't know how to deal with leader. You kind of scared?
Yes.
You're kind of scared talking with leader? Really? So yeah, I understand it's very difficult to actually communicate or deal with leaders. I understand that. So yeah, so basically, so that's a communication issue, but also it's a relationship issue too, right? Can I ask you one question?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, so I have asked this question many times before to students, right? And not only for students, but also like working adults, right? So, like you said before, communication is very difficult. Maybe a relationship is another main problem. And some people said it's very difficult to motivate people, right? So I have to manage people, I have to direct people, but I don't know how to motivate people. They don't work hard, right? Or sometimes, if you become a leader, I don't know how to properly behave as a leader, or I don't know how to have a good leadership, right? So, like many things, communication, relationship, leadership, motivation, very, very difficult in the working place. Right? It's not about how to make computer programs. For example, it's not really about the difficult challenges usually for people. It's not about technologies. It's not about skills. Skills, technologies, if you learn it, that's okay, right? You can learn it. And once you can learn, then you don't have much problem with it. But dealing with people, making a relationship and managing people, it's one of the most difficult challenges in the organization life. Okay, that's what people usually talk about their challenges in the workplace. Then the question is, how to solve the problems? How to solve the problems? Communication, leadership, motivation, very difficult. Let me say this. These are all people-related issues. It's not skill-related. It's not technology-related. It's people-related issues, right? So it's very difficult to deal with people, basically. And the question is, how can we solve the problems? Some usually old people, right? Some old people say that, I have experience. I have tons of experience. I experienced problems related to this, and now I know the solutions, right? I have a lot of experiences. Now I have the solutions. Does that really work though? Of course, people who have many experiences, they have their own ways, but that's also limited to his or her own experiences, their own situations, right? What if he or she worked in a different organization? What if he or she worked in a different country or different culture, right? In different industries. So it's people's experiences are limited. Of course, it's a very powerful solution for some people. I'm not denying, right? But it's also limited. It's also limited by their own experiences, by their own situations, right? So we need to understand that. So the real solution for this problems is know the reasons. Know the reasons and why, for example, why certain people are not motivated. Why is it difficult to make a relationship for certain type of people? So what I'm trying to say here is there are so many different factors. There are so many different factors related to these problems. So we need to. So if we want to make a good solutions for these things, we need to know what make these problems a little difficult. we need to know the reasons. So by knowing the reasons, we can develop the solutions, right? So that's how we try to approach in this organizational behavior class. Let me ask you some questions. Okay. Is there any idea to make an innovative company? So how can we make an innovative company? Innovation is a very big issue nowadays, right? Especially in Korean companies, innovation is a very big issue, very big topic. Why is that? Why Korean companies really care about innovation nowadays, like big Korean companies? Because Korean companies, for a long time, didn't have much innovation. The Korean companies for a long time, not now, probably they are changing a little bit, but for a long time, they tried to copy. They tried to copy what other players are doing. They did it very well. They did it very fast, very effectively, efficiently. So what their strategy was the fast follower strategy. They try to follow the industry leaders fast, right? So that's fast follower strategy. So they did it for a long time, and they did it very well for some good big Korean companies, and now they become a leader. But guess what? There's not many companies they have to follow, right? They are becoming a leader right now. So then, what should they do?
Have resources.
They have more source now, and what? But they cannot try fast follower strategy now, because there's not many companies to follow now. They are becoming one of the leaders in the global competition. What they have to do is now, they have to introduce new product now as a leader in the industry. For example, like Samsung, right? It's one of the leading companies in electronics and information technology. They have to introduce new things. So that's why innovation is a very big topic, very big issue in some of the big Korean companies nowadays. The question is, okay, for a long time, they just focus on following others, and now they became a leader. They need to become innovative. So that means they have to change their characteristics. That means they have to change their way of thinking, the way of how they work. And that's a very, very difficult thing, right? It's for individual, it's very difficult to change your habit, right? For a company, it's very, very difficult to change their way of doing things, right? Way of thinking. So the question is, how can we make innovative company? That's a big issue. And I think some of the Korean companies are becoming innovative companies now. They're doing pretty well, but Still, but it's a big challenge. Now, let me ask you a question. How can we make a company innovative? Do you have any idea?
We have to get more creative people.
They have to get more creative people. That's a very good, actually, answer. That's a very good answer, right? Good. Okay, let me ask you this: when you think about innovative company, which company you can think of? That's the first or second company that you can, when you think about innovation, what company comes in your mind? Innovative company. Come on. No, I mean, I'm asking you the real company name.
Samsung.
Well, Samsung, it's innovative, but well, I think another companies, I mean, it's well known for innovation. Apple, right?
Yes.
Apple is very innovative, right? Apple is innovative. Apple is very well known for that innovative products, right? They are actually the leader of the information technology industry. They are the first company which introduced the smartphones, right? And so many things that we are using nowadays. I mean, they actually first introduced those things. And I think Apple is very well known for innovation, right? You agree, right? I mean, of course, Samsung is doing pretty well nowadays, but I think Apple is the leading figure in terms of innovation. And who was the person who made the company Apple innovative? Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs made the company very innovative, right? He was the founder of Apple, and he was basically master of the innovation. So let's listen to what Steve Jobs is thinking about. Okay, how to manage innovative company.
One of the keys to Apple's an incredibly collaborative company. And so, you know how many committees we have at Apple?
No,
0. We have no committees.
no commitment.
We are organized like a startup. One person's in charge of iPhone OS software. One person's in charge of Mac hardware. One person's in charge of iPhone hardware. Another person's in charge of worldwide marketing. Another person's in charge of operations. We're organized like a startup. We're the biggest startup on the planet. And we all meet for 3 hours once a week, and we talk about everything we're doing, the whole business. And there's tremendous teamwork at the top of the company, which filters down to tremendous teamwork throughout the company. And teamwork is dependent on trusting the other folks to come through with their part without watching them all the time. We're trusting that they're going to come through with their parts. And that's what we do really well. And we're great at figuring out how to divide things up into these great teams that we have and all work on the same thing, touch bases frequently, and bring it all together into a product. We do that really well. And so what I do all day is meet with teams of people. And work on ideas and solve problems, to make new products, to make new marketing programs, whatever it is.
And are people willing to tell you you're wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, other than snarky journalists, I mean, people that
Oh,
work.
yeah. No, we have wonderful arguments.
And do you win them all?
Oh, no, I wish I did. No, see, you can't. If you want to hire great people and have them stay working for you, you have to let them make a lot of decisions, and you have to be run by ideas, not hierarchy. The best ideas have to win.
So-
Otherwise, good people don't stay.
What you're,
Well, so Steve Jobs talked a lot of things about how to run the company, right? So he was not talking about technology. He was not talking about technology. So some people, when I ask some people about this question, okay, what do you think the core strength of the company Apple? Some people say that, okay, their product resource, their technology, those are kind of typical answers for the question. But what Steve Jobs is talking about is it's not related to technology, not related to resources, but he's only talking about people, right? As you mentioned before, he knows how to manage or how to motivate creative people. And he thinks that the collaboration is really, really important, right? And he was talking about the importance of trust. So I think the trust, I think what I was very surprised by Steve Jobs' comment is because it's his understanding of the concepts. He has his own definitions of trust. He has his own definitions of how to motivate people. It was just surprising. He really knows. He really knows how. He really understands people. So his definition of trust. Do you remember what he was talking about? Trust.
I can
Okay, you don't remember. But what he was talking about is, okay, trust. His own definition of trust is like this. The trust is believing what others, believing the others come through their parts without watching them all the time. That was the trust. So he was saying that we have really, we really trust people in Apple, and we trust others are doing their own parts without watching them all the time. So he believes in his employees. Okay? Many managers in the real world watch their employees all the time. Okay? Because doubting whether my employees are working hard or not. But Steve Jobs is saying that, okay, I have trust, and my definition of trust is not watching them all the time. I believe them, they're going to come through what they are required to do. Okay? So that's trust. And communication, he is saying that what he's doing all the time is meeting with people, talking about ideas, and basically what he's doing all the time is communication. Okay? And he knows how to facilitate communication in your organization. What was that? The organization. He was saying that the Apple is like the biggest startup company in the world. It means organization is really flat. So he was saying that one person take charge of iOS, one person take charge of something, one person take charge of. He was saying that our organization structure is very simple, and our hierarchy is not that tall. That's basically what he's saying. The reason why he designed the organization like this is because he wants to facilitate communication between these people. If hierarchy is really tall, it's difficult to communicate with these people, right? So he was talking about the communication. And what I really love about Steve Jobs' comments that you just watched, it's a part of empowerment and motivation. He says that, okay, the interviewer was saying that, asking Steve Jobs, do you have any basically conflict when you have meeting with people? Do you win them all? That's what the interviewer says. So, and Steve Jobs, of course not. I can't. So Steve Jobs is CEO, right? Always have meetings and communications, but he's saying that, okay, my idea, it's a very, I cannot win them all. Sometimes my subordinates win. And after that, he was saying that, okay, if you want to make great people stay for you and work for you, you have to make them a lot of decisions. It's not, and then he was saying that you have to run by ideas, not by hierarchy. You have to run by idea, okay? So, no matter what the rank of the employees are, if that person has a great idea, then that idea should win. It's not by a hierarchy, it's run by idea. So, he knows how to motivate people. He knows how to motivate great people. So he was saying that, he was saying that you have to empower people to motivate them and stay for you, stay in the company, right? So, so Steve Jobs is the person who really knows. He really understands people. He knows how to motivate people. He knows how to facilitate communication. And those knowledges and those experiences that he had made him a great manager. Right? So that's the important thing about understanding people. So making innovative companies is not really about technology and resources and stuff like that. It's all about managing right people. And it shows, the Steve Jobs comment shows the importance of understanding how people think and behave in the organizational environment. Okay, if you understand that really well, then you can become a good leader. And that's what we learn from organizational behavior class. Okay, this knowledge help us to become great managers. So this is the formal definition of organizational behavior. Organizational behavior, OB, is a field of study that investigates various factors. So there are three three levels of factors we usually talk about. Individual level factors, for example, like our personalities, our perceptions. Group level factors, like group cohesion, like the structure of group, or like climate of group, organizational structure, like it's not really structure, but organizational level factors, right? But anyways, OB is a field of study that investigates various factors that influence people's behavior. Why do we learn this? For the purpose of applying such knowledge toward improving the organization's effectiveness. So organizational behavior is a field of study that learns, that investigates various factors influencing people's basically thinkings and behavior to improve organizational effectiveness. That's organizational behavior. And the factors could be many different things. But that's the formal basic definitions. Okay, let's stop here for the first session. Okay, let's continue on what's organizational behavior in the second session. Okay, let's have a break. 시작할 때 시작할게. 들리니? 마이크?
네.
Okay, 시작해?
네.
Okay, let's start the second session of this class. So we talked about the definition of the organizational behavior in the previous session. The organizational behavior is a field of study that investigates various factors that influence people's behavior within organizations. So why do we need to study this? Because we want to apply such knowledge toward improving organizational effectiveness. We want to increase the effectiveness of organization based on what we know about people, right? So that's the proposal of organizational behavior. All right, so that's the formal definition. So again, I'm going to ask you the definition of organizational behavior again and again. So please memorize and remember the formal definition of organizational behavior. And let's take a look at this part here. We have three levels here: individual levels, group levels, and organizational levels. So again, the individual level factors are our cognitions, our personalities, our values. Those are individual level factors. Those factors influence people's thinkings and behavior, right? That's the individual level of organizational behavior. And the group level factors are group structure, for example, group diversity, and group cohesion, the dynamics between people within the groups. All those things influence people's behaviors and thinkings as well, right? So, for example, as an individual, for example, you are a hardworking person. But sometimes you become very lazy person if you become a member of a certain group, right? So that tells us that group factor, group level something influence people's thinking and behavior. That's the group level factors, right? So as an individual, that person is very hardworking. But when that person becomes a member of a group, that person become what? The free rider, for example, right? So people thinkings and behaviors are influenced by group level factors as well. So we have group level factors here that influence people's thinkings and behavior. But also, organizational level factors influence people's thinkings and behavior as well, right? So organizational culture, for example, organizational structure, and there are many different things in organizational levels as well. But in this class, we you can actually close the window there. Close the window, please. Yes. Thank you. In this class, we're going to focus on individual level factors and group level factors. That's called micro organizational behavior. So organizational behavior, there are broadly speaking, there are two different types of organizational behavior. One is micro organizational behavior, another is macro organizational behavior. Micro organizational behavior focusing on individual level factors and group level factors. The macro level organizational behavior is organizational factor. Macro organizational behavior focuses on organizational factors. So we're going to focus on this too. So this is basically micro organizational behavior class. If you are interested in macro organizational behavior, then you can take organization theory class later on. So that's about macro level organization factors. Okay. Right. Let me explain the thinking, the way of thinking in organizational behavior. The organizational behavior is a social science. It's a social science, right? Social science means it's a science. It's a science. It's not literature. It's science, basically. So we have scientific thinking. We apply scientific thinking in investigating organizational behavior, right? So what is scientific thinking? What is scientific thinking? It's a systematic. Basically, organizational behavior is a social science, and the social science has a systematic study. It's a systematic study. What is systematic study? It's a study of cause and effect. In organizational behavior, we think that there's always a cause for a certain effect. For example, back to my example, right? So let's say there's a person who is a free rider, right? So that free rider is a behavior, then our question could be, what caused that free riding behavior, right? There should be a cause, and we want to know about it, right? So that's a cause and effect, right? So like I said before, there's something in group, right, that can influence people's behavior. It means there's something in group is a cause, and people's behavior is a member of group, that's an effect. So in original behavior, we are talking about cause and effect. It's a science, it's not literature, okay? So we conclude our theory and our thinking models based on scientific evidence. It means we do empirical tests, we collect data through survey or through experiments, and we analyze it statistically, and we can conclude or we can confirm our hypothesis based on those the statistical analysis, right? So the things that we learn from this class is not just random idea by one person. It's a proven factors. It's scientifically proven factors. Those are the things that we learn from this class. Okay, so it's a systematic study. It's a causative study of cause and effect. It's in other words, it's input output, right? And there should be some process between input and output, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so we covered overview of our class and what is OB today. So now I'll give you assignment. So there are 3 questions that you have to answer, and you have to answer each question through Portal website by March 26th. So the answer for each question should be more than 5 sentences. I'm not looking forward to see the short answer question, but I want to see your thinking, right? So it's kind of like a short essay type of question. So if you read the textbook, I think you can answer it better. But anyways, you have to answer for these 3 questions, and the answer should be more than 5 sentences long. Except question number 1, right? It's a question about the definition. So it doesn't need to be very long answer, but 1, 2, or 3, you have to provide questions more than 5 sentences long. So submit your answer through Portal by March 26th. I'll show you how to submit your answer through Portal. Okay? So go to our class Portal website here. Excuse me. If you go to Portal website, you go to the first week overview and what is OB, right? And click on it, and you'll see the assignment. What is OB? Then you can see the questions, and you can submit your answers to this. Okay? The deadline for this assignment is March 26th, midnight, right? So you have to submit before that time. So, okay, so this is the, but again, this assignment is important, okay? This is part of your grade. So you have to provide a good answer for this question. All right, this is the end of the first week, and see you next week.